Hello.
Hello?
How are you doing?
Oh, wait. Uh, I can't hear you.
I can hear. Oh, you can't?
Can you
Uh,
hear me?
yes. Okay, hold on. Do, 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 do. Settings. Audio. High definition. I'm plugging. You can't. You still can't hear me? Test output volume.
Oh, now I can.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
It
All
was,
right. We.
it was my volume.
No, we're all good. Yeah. We have. Yeah. We're. All How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The week went very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about it. Or tell. Yeah.
I have a question for you, all right?
Go for it. Yeah.
So it's based on a number of assumptions. Let's say
Sure.
you're a professional athlete, okay? And
Okay.
you're in your mid 30s and you've been
Yes.
playing for you know, all your teenage and adult life. Let's say it could be
Yeah.
tennis, it could be soccer, all right?
Yes. Yeah.
So for most of your professional life, you have um you have been refereed by humans, okay? In other
Oh,
words,
yes. Yeah.
your,
Yeah. Yeah.
your calls have been
Yes.
yeah, and now you're basically being refereed um by robots in the sense that
Yes.
your
Yes.
offside, your outs, your whatever it is, are being
Yes.
determined electronically.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So what do you prefer? I mean, what do you?
I no. This one's interesting to me. I mean, AI, technology, all of that is very front of mind for me. A lot of the time, when I knew that, I think baseball is the sport where they're have most introduced this, like it's actually in use. I'm torn between, how does this feel for the athlete? What does this mean for the fan? What does this mean for people's jobs? But that's generally not my concern, because jobs beget jobs. I don't know. Like, there will always be new jobs when old jobs get taken away. But when I think about, like, turn of the century, is this a totally new era, or is this like the photo decision in horse racing? Suddenly, you had still photographs, and then you had video that you could freeze frame. I mean, these are different eras, but each of them changed. They still involved a human element, but though I'm assuming the same thing. Now we're going to use AI to analyze that rather than a human to make that split second call when it comes down to four people watch the video and also four people watch it in real life and say different things. Do we trust the computer now more? I mean, that's the other question, but that's
Yeah,
that's more our psychology question.
that's kind of what I was thinking. In other words,
Yeah.
is it do we automatically assume that the technology is more accurate,
People
or
do. I mean, people do and
no?
already have. Yes. No. Even though AI tells you over and over and over at the end of every search result, I get things wrong. Do your own research. People trust it for all. Increasingly, are trusting it for all sorts of things. We already have. I mean, there are. It's called situational blindness, where someone, the example where, there is a road closed sign. It says road closed, avalanche. You can see like debris on the road, and yet Google Maps says go that way, and you go that way. I mean, that is what people already do. That is where we put that much faith in our technology already. Most of us. I mean, even myself. I'm not putting myself as I don't think I would do that, but I.
Do you think? Well, do you think that there is a correlation between uh, trust in technology and age? In other words, do you think the younger people trust it more or trust it less than people my age if they're using, let's say, GPS systems or
less consciously, but they less consciously, and they judge you and me for our blind trust, or what they perceive as blind trust. We're so old and ignorant, we get fooled by the AI memes and whatnot. But they also, and they don't, they on some level they were raised with it and have a certain level of media literacy, but I also perceive them as being so steeped in it they don't see it in some ways, and they are also they don't, the rise of the manosphere, bro culture, how Trump got reelected, and young people are a part of that, is because they don't see how they are influenced, whether they think they're not. I don't know. Is my take.
yeah. Yeah. So on a specific level, so in terms of instruction, a younger person might be more skeptical, but at the
Yes.
same time, they're less aware of the fact that they're actually swimming in misinformation.
And the fact that it's becoming increasingly sophisticated. So hardy har har at the older person who falls for the obvious deep fake that has all the tells, but the fact that it leaps exponentially, and you're falling for different things that don't have those tells. But so I don't know. But again, it's not about generational. That's always so easy. There are a couple things here. Oh, well, no, since we're talking about age, you mentioned athletes, older athletes. One thing, and again, FIFA has obviously been on everyone's, goalies tend to stick around longer. And again, I don't know enough about soccer, but so they're seen, they become sort of stewards of, they help, I don't know, as their teammates who are younger, I guess, come and go, they're the whole keeper of sort of the
Hey,
I don't know,
goalies?
the goalie, the one who tends, but yeah, I don't know, but I can see that. I mean, in the same way in football, American football, the quarterback is sort of if you have the coach, but the quarterback is also, they set the tone for the team. They're they call the coach calls the shots, but then the ball is in their hand. They get the decision. And the same thing with the goalie. The goalie is sort of the last line of defense in soccer, and so they set. I don't know. This was just, I don't know. Is it an article? I don't know if it's even that interesting to me.
Well, that's interesting to me because I never realized that a goalie relies perhaps as much on experience as on athleticism. So,
Right. Yes.
they don't have to be the fastest runners on the field.
Right. Right.
They can be older if they are more experienced
Yes.
at knowing where it's going to come from,
Yes.
depending upon who they're playing or blah blah.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't watched any. I have to say, I haven't watched.
I don't care. No, I mean, yeah. That's and then the other thing that's interesting. So I was at a show. Many of the bands that I've seen just in the last couple of weeks, I've seen bands who started in 1979. So they've been a band almost as long as I've been alive. But I'm at a show, and the thing is, I'm live streaming it, and it's the YouTube comments. There's a reason. Never read the comments as a meme, but people have always, you can say whatever you want on the internet, and so I just ignore it. But people always have comments about, especially it's a female, but the way they look, the whatever, about all the performance. In this particular moment, she didn't seem that old. She seemed maybe in her 30s, maybe early 40s. But someone's just said in the comments, she's too old to be on stage. To which everyone else in the comments, and again, this was the headlining band was someone who the lead singer acknowledged during their set he's in his 70s. So everyone else who's in the live stream is waiting for this band. They know what's up, and they basically it actually ends up in this whole discourse around what does it mean? Who can be on stage? And anyone can be on stage, and anyone can be a performer and rocking out at any age, and you can go to shows and be in the audience at any age and all that. And then finally, the original person who said it, after a couple of songs, said, "Okay, she won me over." And and again, it's these minor wins of someone who came in just to be a bully and then had their opinion change. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I again, rocking out at any age. The lead singer at one point, he said, like, who's here? He's talking about, we've been a band for going on 5 decades now. Who's in their 30s? Who's in their 40s? Who's in their 50s? And then he gets to who's in their 60s. And I didn't realize the guy Jim, who I was standing with, he wasn't, and I didn't realize he was in his 60s, but he is. And then the lead singer jokes, "Okay, do you need your medication? Is everyone okay? Do we need to take a break?" But I mean, yeah, the show goes on.
Yeah, it's interesting because my Instagram feed for some reason is showing me a lot of aging rockers.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't see it, but apparently Rod Stewart collapsed and then went on a wheelchair with oxygen, but he was still.
Oh, but he kept. Oh yeah. I mean, Lionel Richie also. Oh, go ahead. No, what were you saying?
I find it. I wince slightly.
Yes.
The guys who are close to 80.
Yes.
Really prancing around the stage. And
yes.
Why I do that. Am I jealous? No, not particularly.
Right.
But I don't know. Perhaps there's no other way to sing that.
Right. Yeah, but
people like Tony Bennett, who were not 95,
yes,
they were still kind of singing the same way.
Yes.
I didn't think they were, he wasn't running around and jumping up and trying to,
No. Yes. No. Okay. So you don't like Mick Jagger. Because he still does his strut back and I mean that's that.
Yeah. And there's a guy.
Yeah.
The guy from AC/DC and is still wearing his short pants.
Oh yeah. Yes. No. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
That's
yeah.
Almost like a parody of an old joke. I mean, I don't.
Right. Yeah. Yes. But no. But
magazine from 1972 showing you what these people would look like.
Yes.
And now
yes.
they look like that.
But I mean, I'm not there yet. But people said, what are you going to do when you're 50 with those tattoos? And I said, I will be 50 with these tattoos, and here I am, But no, okay. Lionel Richie also collapsed on stage this week, which again, I hope everyone's okay and takes care of their health. That's the one thing I hope. Again, because rock stars don't have insurance or a retirement plan, and most of them don't have people who really take care of them and their money, or people who aren't embezzling from them. I really do worry, that they're not just about the ones who are doing it because they have to, not just for the love of them. Some of them are doing it for the love of them. Phil Collins, I think he also was wheeled out literally in a wheelchair on his final tour, but he was, he's still drumming, he's still, it was for the love of the game, and you believe that. But the ones who still have to tour just constantly, I see people and the ones who feel they have to do that stage energy just because they have to, Prince, so Prince famously died because of taking painkillers. But I saw a friend I had a friend who saw him at an intimate event. It was a surprise, middle of the week show here in Seattle, not long before he died. And they were talking about how he's doing stage dives off the stage in heels, and he was in his late 50s then. And I'm thinking, but how does this contribute to his taking the painkillers that killed him? You know, like, did he feel he had to do that? Did he want to do that? And if he just wanted, if there was just the showman in him, nothing can stop that. But if he felt he had to do that for the money, then that's sad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. It's so it's.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Think of Elvis. Didn't he kind of adapted his stage persona to his age?
Yes, you just become more like
Young
rambly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The young, he wasn't, gyrating his hips quite as much as his, as young Elvis. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, and no, because I'm thinking, yes, and if you forget the words, you just kind of banter with the band for 20 minutes, and your fans forgive you for that, and it still goes on a live album for whatever reason, and they'll buy that. I mean, yes, there's something about being a legacy act that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that singers apparently, they stay with coaches all their lives, right? I mean, if they're allowed
Yeah.
to, right?
Yes.
So why aren't there coaches for their non-singing, for their? I think
Yeah.
it's a good job. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's good where you.
I mean, I do think, and there are like nonprofit charitable organizations that bridge that gap between a manager or agent who really is not there for you, and all those especially if you become a multi-millionaire at 14 or 17, and you're touring the world because someone books that for you, but then 30 years later you have to book your own hotel rooms and no one has ever taught you how to do that. I don't know. Yeah, no, I feel a lot for touring musicians. Like, it's a real job. I used to fantasize about it. I absolutely am glad that wasn't my life. I didn't choose that.
Billy Joel stopped jumping off the piano quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
Jumping
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. But piano man actually it's easier, right? If you're sitting at the piano. Well, we saw Elton John,
Yes.
and it was a bit painful because he couldn't, his movements are pretty. I mean,
Oh.
he's at the piano, but
Yeah.
standing up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You felt like what he doesn't, this guy's in pain.
Yeah, no, right. No, yeah. Bob Dylan just played here, like 3 nights sold out, and the first night people said he was a little shaky, like his voice sounded, but by the end it had, again, I think some people's material ages better than others. I think, again, if you did really upbeat pop, then you're stuck dancing on stage. If you did ballads, if you were sitting at a keyboard, your voice gets gravelly, or you actually age into it. Like I wonder at what age you start writing material for that. What age you've been touring long enough that you think, oh, if I gotta sing this in 30 years, and I like, is that how artists change their style, because there are things like that, influences like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've been watching some clips of Paul McCartney recently.
Yes.
Well, one of which he was talking about the Stones drummer. What's his the guy who died?
Charlie Watts. Yeah, Charlie Watts.
It was kind of like he was just talking about what a great guy he was.
Yeah.
And it's interesting actually, as some of these guys, I hear them, they're talking about sessions, some recorded, some not, were actually
Yes.
a lot on each other's
Yes.
but
Yeah.
at the time they were like rivals, or they were
Right. Yeah.
I guess the PR was Stones versus Beatles, or um,
Right.
but but they would also share a lot of studio musicians.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that can also become competitive. I mean, you can become proprietary for a sound and wanting it to be yours versus these session musicians
Oh
aren't
yeah,
paid enough to be unless you. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Um,
no, in the case of in the case of the Beatles and the Stones, in the case I don't the Beatles other than one another, the Beatles didn't have many rivalries or beefs. Like Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, everyone thought that was just sort of a cheap parody. But John Lennon actually visited them in the studio and vice versa. They visited Abbey Road, like they were friends and acknowledged because the Monkees actually wrote
they
and
didn't
performed their own music. That
think the monkeys were cheesy. In other words,
no, yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
because they're in the they're in show business. They,
Yes.
we're all in show business, right? So you have different shtick, I guess.
I am assuming, and this is a little bit separate, but I think we're in show business is what my take. I'm assuming you didn't hear about a internet critic named Fontino versus a musician named Halsey.
No, no.
No. Okay, that's okay. No. I wouldn't think you had. But here, let me give you the backstory. So she's a musician. She put out an album. It actually came out in 2024. It didn't do great, but it didn't do badly. She did.
Fontina.
No, her name. I'm sorry. Her name is Halsey. His name is
Oh,
Fantino. Yeah,
okay.
his name is Fantino. Yeah, she'd been much bigger. Maybe say a decade ago. She had some huge hits, but she's still successful in the industry. She puts out an album. At the same time, she also had health issues going on that she acknowledged, some of which is part of the album, none of which is really relevant to whether it's a good album or not, and a critic saying they didn't like the album. 2 years later, now 2026, people are still talking about his review. In particular, her fans are still bitter and spicy because he gave it a 1 out of 10, which is a very bad review, especially acknowledging that some of the songs on it were good. He says, what does he say? He says, when people are still talking about the review and not the album years later, or something like that, to which she writes a whole long paragraph that concludes with, the least memorable song on my album will be remembered long after anything you ever do. Period. I just that's where yeah. What are your thoughts on any of this?
Um,
Critics versus artists. People say critics are just they're just hanging on. They're not. The artists make the art, and then critics can just they build their reputations. Just they don't do it.
it's very good what you're talking about. Um, so I'm making an analogy to
Yes.
the art world. So 50, 60 years ago, there were one or two very powerful critics, and they basically could make an artist's career,
Yes.
anointing them, right?
Yes.
They couldn't necessarily break an artist's career, but that,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
you know, uh, I mean, I knew one or two artists who actually treasured their very bad reviews because they were so bad.
Yes.
Uh, uh,
Yes.
you know, in a mocking kind of way. Um,
Yes.
there's no such thing now. It's entirely money. In other words, you're great if
Huh.
you're successful. I
Right. No. Right.
have
Yeah.
very, very little power, right? Um,
Yes. Yes.
In fact, they have virtually because actually there are no longer vehicles for them. I mean,
Huh.
because most of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
news about art is sensationalistic or commercial,
yeah. Right. Right.
unless it's very erudite and academic, in which case
Right.
people's not really, it's
I
not
mean,
going to,
well,
it's not going to affect them.
yes. Yes.
Um, I think that uh, I think it's a brave performer or artist or whatever who can ignore their critics to the
Yes.
point where they don't pay attention, to the point where they don't
Right.
eat, they don't want to know.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, in other words, they are above it, beyond it, or beside it. I
And
think
do I mean any right?
um,
I mean, in the theater world, there is a oh, I'm sorry. Go on. I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to think if you have. So when my memoir came out in England, there was a big story in the, I don't know, I was a time. It linked it to other stuff about the 60s, and
Yes. Yes.
written by a young woman, and she kind of mocked me a bit
Huh.
as you know, oh, she didn't say this, I don't remember, but old fart things were better then, kind of,
Huh.
well,
Okay.
even though
Yeah.
I've acknowledged that. I mean,
I mean, right.
I
Well, yes.
cop to that. I cop to that in the book. So I mean,
Right. No. Right. Right. Right.
I I I think that I was mildly annoyed,
Yes.
but in the context of who I made up she was,
Right. Right.
age wise and journalist wise, it if it had been someone, if it had been a peer, I think I would have been much more upset. I,
Right. Right. No. Sure.
in other words, if it's someone who you might respect,
Yes.
um, but if it's random rock writer, I mean, if it's,
Right.
I don't know, there must be a couple of, I know that I can't remember their names, but who are like revered,
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then I'm sure Oscar Wilde said something about critics, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that um, I mean, there used to be, there was this, I actually remember being involved once in this when a play opened on Broadway, uh,
Right.
all of the cast and the backers and all of the people would go to Sardi's for dinner,
Yes.
and they'd wait for the New York Times to come out at 11
Yes.
o'clock. In other words, then the Times, which was printed in the theater district. So,
Right. No. Right. 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 Yes.
and they would either swoon or cheer, or but it was either make or break, right? That was,
Right. No. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Canby gave it 4 stars. It was going to run. Everybody was going to make money. But if Vincent Canby said, "I left after
Yes.
intermission," then
Yes.
as well, they couldn't pay the bills. But I don't think we live in that. I don't know if we live in that era. Maybe we. I don't know.
Right,
perhaps because they have Tonys and people do
right,
that.
right.
But they don't pay
Eh,
attention to who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or not.
right. Um, No, okay. So in theater, I mean, and I mean, there's at least the sort of cliche of the at least the creators, the actors. You know, I don't want to read the reviews until it closes, or I don't want to, you know, so especially not on opening night. It's going to affect my performance. I guess if you're an artist, once the show is on, the art has been created, and so you don't, unless you're a performance artist, you don't really have to worry about it affecting the art. Um, do critics have? It is interesting. Yeah, no, this particular critic, but back to the original, is an online critic. He has an online following, and she pointed out, as far as like make or break and bully, she pointed out, like she said, you know, you're an edgelord internet bully, and I do kind of agree with. And and critics exist, though. I mean, in the sphere they are, to a certain extent, they are extended things. They are given advanced copies of records for a reason, because they can, not always, but they can influence sales. If they didn't, artists may not like them, but the record labels or the producers or whoever, they are an accepted, maybe an uncomfortable, but they're part of the industry. Yeah. Oh, go
He
ahead.
would have an
Yes.
effect. So he would have an effect on her sales.
I think it's debatable. I think it's debatable. Again, I think the people who he has influence with weren't going to buy her a record anyway, so that, to me, it's kind of moot. But one thing he doesn't, I think, do, because you talked about, like the great critics, and you think about those people who wrote for Rolling Stone in the 60s and 70s, who really cultivated relationships with artists, went on tour with them, wrote long-form pieces about them, and really got to know them.
John
So
Powell.
yeah. I don't think that exists anymore. There's no one who funds that. There's no one who can afford. Yeah, and I think you're right. That doesn't exist, and so it does become sensationalized often. It does.
I have to take a break because I've been drinking a lot of coffee.
Do it. Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
I don't have to be.
we're good. No, we're good.
Oh, good. So
Yep.
yeah. So one of the things that I think is problematic now with my business is that there are not enough. There are not critics. In other words,
Huh. Yeah.
that the money is the master, and so
Right.
I think if there were the same kind of critic, and people would, people would follow them.
Yes.
You would follow a critic because, not because they told you what to like, but because
you trusted their. Yes.
they liked, and in
Yes.
other words,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
mutual formation of taste, right?
Yes.
So if I was, well, I remember if Pauline Kael liked a movie, I wanted to go and see it because I
Right.
thought she
Y-
had good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't mean it was a great movie for history, but it was something that I would like to, I would enjoy.
Right. No. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing in my business that doesn't exist anymore. In
Yeah.
other
Right.
words,
Yeah.
you should go see this. I liked it. Blah 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 blah. I went to the gallery next door. It wasn't so interesting. It looked rather derivative. I don't know. I mean, this um, direction of sharing your enthusiasm, I think, is more important than just trashing something.
Yes.
If you think if you think an artist is overrated, you can explain why, whether they're a
Yes.
poet or a painter, it doesn't matter. You can explain why you think.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know. I mean, I can see why that singer was tempted to say that,
Right.
rising to bait. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I would say it's very difficult not to do that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, uh, yeah, but the point is she right or not? The fact is, neither of them may be.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think so. Right, I think that there are definitely critics who latch onto successful artists, and whether it is to antagonize them or just to hype them up, but to really, yeah, that they're. I would say almost parasitical. Same thing with the paparazzi, but I think there are also, again, the paparazzi are also part of the industry. But back to our original comment, I do feel I am skeptical of any artist who thinks I am up here and you're down here, because I think whether it's the critic, whether it's their artist, the audience, the best artists understand that it's a dialogue, that it is a communication, that whether you like the back and forth or not, it is a communication, and that and they're willing to explore that. If that discomforts you or you're not willing to confront that, I'm curious about you putting yourself out there, because just in the limited way I've exposed myself, for instance, on the internet, I am familiar. I'm familiar that you have to have at least a little bit of a thick skin.
Yes, yeah. Now, did she get praise from other critics? I mean, I'll tell you. Oh, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a quote I've never forgotten, and it's something like
Huh.
this. If I walk into a room of 100 people, and I know there's one person in that room that doesn't like me,
Yes.
and that was Marlon Brando, admitting to how thin-skinned he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
but you
No. Yeah.
you cannot be that thin-skinned if you're going to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
As a creative,
I mean, I think. Yeah. I think so.
person, right?
But no, but back to like trusting their, yeah, then we definitely don't have critics where we can agree. Like even just with Siskel and Ebert, I knew I relatively trusted Roger Ebert. I didn't always trust Gene Siskel. He especially just had a anti-horror bias. Anything that was horror or thriller, or you knew he was going to dislike it, and that obviously is the opposite of my taste, and that's just subjective. But Roger Ebert, I think, was more likely to give something, for instance, like Silence of the Lambs, that many people, which ended up winning, awards, more likely to give it. So yeah, so you would develop, like, I know I trust this person's opinion, and we don't have that anymore. Which is a loss. I had a debate with someone, a very civil debate with someone online. They said something about an artist I like. They called them mediocre, and I said, okay, everyone can have opinions. Before I decide whether or not to take yours, who would, if they're mediocre, who would you consider good? And they listed a few artists, none of whom I had heard of, but I looked some of them up, and they were actually pretty good. And I said, oh, you know what? They're actually pretty good, but why does it have to be a competition? And they said, no, you're right. Okay, so it ended pretty civilly, and I discovered some new artists out of it. And I think back to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Why do we automatically pit? Why just because they're two British artists? Just because Beyonce and Rihanna are both black women? Why is there an automatic? Why does the industry? I mean, to a certain extent, those beefs, quote unquote, can sell records, and sometimes artists play into them, but also it's a cultural thing that we do, that we just, there can be only one, but that's not true. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones have both sold millions and millions and millions of records. They were both successful. It wasn't a competition.
But yeah, well, before the Rolling Stones, actually, the New Musical Express, which was
Yes,
they promoted at the very beginning was the Beatles versus the Dave Clark Five.
yes, yeah, because they were both right. Yes, yeah.
They were the same era. I mean, they were.
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you had to slice things very carefully in those days, or have historically as to no, but I mean, there was a time
Yeah.
there was the Dave Clark Five, there was Jerry and the Pacemakers,
Yes, yeah.
ferry across the Mersey, Liverpool,
Yes,
Liverpool,
yes. Right.
right?
Yep.
Before the Rolling Stones, before the
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
were Animals.
The animals. Yes.
We're going week by week.
Right. No. Right.
Fans were, I mean, it was like soccer. They were either Dave Clark Five or the Beatles, right? You couldn't like both.
Right. No, but then for me, I think this is like the emo era, and watching all those beefs become package tours where you can now see those bands perform together. But they were at that.
Well, yes. And then when Murray the K did his shows at the Brooklyn Fox, you had actually the 50s bands who had they were all on the stage together too. I mean, I don't know the Drifters or the
No, exactly, for sure.
And the Little Rascals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So what else? Anything? What else? What happened this week? What have you been? Okay. What about again? We're still talking about the reflecting pool. Was it you? Did you take the knife? Was that you were in D.C. recently? Was it?
Yeah, I think.
Vandals did it.
It is so extraordinary that a matter that is so petty really is mesmerizing the media. I don't know if it's mesmerizing the country.
Right.
Now it's bigger than Epstein. It's bigger than the war. It's bigger than the cost of eggs.
Yeah.
Effing pool, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I'm sure it's always been a kind of probably something.
Yeah. I mean,
do tourists? I've never been tempted to go near, I have to say, any national monument.
Sure, right.
Why? But I don't. But I do think that because it's emblematic.
Yes.
I think it encapsulates the man's approach to narcissism and life and money and and it's shoddy, and then when it doesn't work you lie, right?
Yes.
You get cronies to do it. It's a bribe thing anyway. It doesn't work, and then you lie about it, right? And You say
But
you say people have been arrested when they have. I mean,
but
it's
they, I mean,
a bold-faced lie. I mean, it all is, right?
and then I mean, they released a video of what, I mean, I couldn't tell, I don't think it was a child, but someone just putting their hand in the water, but they've slowed it down and freeze framed it like and you know, and people are commenting below it like, what do you think they did in the 3 seconds that their hand were in the water? But they're releasing these as like wanted posters for someone who's sitting on the edge who casually put their hand in the water, and you know, it because his lies become someone else's reality. Yeah, I don't care about architecture in Washington D.C., but it has become this microcosm of how he does things, starting with it didn't need to be done at all. Like they could have just left well enough alone, but now it has become this multi week thing. Yeah, I don't know.
He actually it was a major error. I mean, it's one thing to say you're going to build a giant triumphal arch,
Yes.
which may or may not, probably won't happen, right?
Right. Right.
But to fix something which actually I'm sure with a modest amount of research, he could have found out many presidents have thought about doing something and then have decided they had better things to do. People have come into their life saying, you know, there's algae in the reflecting pool, and Clinton said, well, so what? Where's Monica? I don't know. You know,
Right. But they do, I mean, I mean, of all the things it's emblematic of, it is emblematic of people walk into his office, he hears them, and then it becomes a pronouncement that other people have to make happen. I have one of the politicians I communicate with regularly tells a story, and this is a story that they tell often at speeches and things, just when they're talking about, please come up to us, please talk about the things that are important to you, it is my job to listen to you. And they give the example when they served a much smaller rural community, and this one woman had this obsession with this wild horses, and she had all this, you know, the data about the wild horses, and we need to protect the wild horses, and she was just in the office and in her face all the time. And this politician said, you know, wild horses isn't my thing. It will never be my thing. But while she was in my face all the time talking about wild horses, I thought about wild horses all the time. You know, and so again, yeah, I think it is alarming how he very openly, whoever just crosses his path in person or online, can shift the course of his opinion, and therefore the entire U.S. government, on whims, not based on fact. He's not ever going to research or fact check. If someone said it online, it must be true, and I will act. I mean, that's scary when he, you know, again, we're not going to talk about the nuclear codes because he operates on whims, and that's, you never know what to expect.
Pillow Man said, right? Pillow Man said, so it must be true.
Yeah. And that just went away. The Symantec, the company, doesn't exist anymore. They were bought out by a Republican, and they just made the settlement go away in the same way that, you know, the government settled with all these, and now we're giving, you know, these same people we should be throwing in jail, we're giving them money for covering up crime. I don't know.
The Department
You're taxed up.
The Department of Education is suing a school district in Colorado for transgender on the girls' sports team.
Yes, yeah.
They cited the male names of the coaches and the mascots and the managers. In other words, they looked at the names,
right,
saw male names,
yes,
and then they sued, right?
Oh wow, is that true? Oh,
Yes,
yeah. Okay, I did.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you're transgender, aren't you going to take a female name, right? I mean, are you?
Well, that's yes. I mean, yes. That you are female, so you have a female name. Yes.
Well, look at
Yes.
some. I mean, can you imagine how
Yeah.
stupid that is?
Okay, they've done Colorado. They've done this. They did this previously with book bans. So there is a very beloved children's book author named Bill Martin, and he's written many books. There's a separate sociologist named Bill Martin, because again, Bill and Martin are fairly common names. You might want to do a little bit more. Yeah. Anyway, Bill Martin wrote some sort of treatise, something socialism. Bill Martin, the children's author, has never written anything. You know where this is going. So they banned about a dozen Brown Bear, What Do You See? They banned about a dozen books without doing the research. So yeah, I mean they're very quick to.
An author with the same name had a book with the word socialism in the title.
Yes. Yes.
Oh wow! That's
Yes.
really,
Um, and let's not forget. And the reason they've gone after trans athletes, and specifically only female trans athletes, like trans men don't exist at all, but the reason they've gone specifically after female, because again, they're writing laws, they're trying to use Title 9, which is a law against sexual discrimination, to write laws that only apply to one gender. Like they're doesn't even make it make sense. But they've chosen it because athletics is already rife with homophobia. That's why they chose it as their battleground. It was an easy target because in Mexico, the crowds have been cited for yet again at the soccer matches for bringing back a homophobic chant that they just bring back year after year. I mean, it's unfortunate. The quote unquote men and women's sports battleground. It's exhausting, but they found their hook. And they're running with it. They're running with it, whether they have the facts or not, whether it makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's wild, but I absolutely believe that, because they're not doing. It's not about protecting children. It's not about. And again, if it was, you could have. If you're concerned, and they're using the sensationalism of a big tough boy is going to be playing against your fragile, delicate daughters. First of all, these are female athletes. They're anything but fragile. But if your concern is fairness, sports already have height and weight classes. You could easily do that, and that has nothing to do with gender if you're concerned about fairness and safety. Let's just start there. They already have age classes. You don't put 6-year-olds with 14-year-olds. So if your concern is physical attributes and safety,
right?
there are lots of ways you could do this. They've chosen this, and then very insincerely. I mean, and again, the same thing with bathrooms. It's never caused a problem. They're looking for problems, and they've created solutions in search of a problem because they want to target people because it gets them votes. I mean, it's all just a smoke and mirror sideshow that uses real people's lives. Obviously it's Pride weekend, so again, YouTube comments, people have had all sorts of things to say about a community just having their own enjoyment, having nice things. But trans people make up 0.08% of the population, and yet the president talks about them every single day, literally every single day. Trans athletes, there are 500,000, 500,000 collegiate athletes. Female trans athletes make up maybe 20 to 40? Period. Less than 50 out of 500,000. Why?
They are a threat to Western civilization.
Why would this be top news? I mean, again, you're talking about the fountain, but why would this be top news day after day after day? Other than it's someone's found a hook and it gets people riled up. But you're using people's real lives to do that, and that's
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
you're up for parade now, Bob?
I am no, yeah, I am. And yeah, it's
You
and no,
ready, ready to go now?
I am. No, I am. And so, okay, this is me admitting this year, Trans Pride was on Friday. At the same time, in a separate location, people organized a trans solidarity march, and I actually said this shows how sort of bougie and middle class and set in my ways comfortable gay I've become. I actually said, we're partying this week, we're having a good time this weekend, do they have to do their rah rah rally? Full disclosure, I ended up joining the rah rah rally because because it's both. And they actually said, one of the speeches was said, if you're having a great time, that is having a party is resistance in the face of people who don't want you to have a good time, but also marching is important too, and to remember that the first Pride was a riot, that what we now celebrate as parades started as marches for our rights, and especially in the current climate, maybe we need to remember those roots. So it's a both and. I mean, this year, I've seen many more shirts that are less celebratory. I mean, you've seen a lot of the comical and humorous shirts, but I see many more sort of defiant and angry, and you're not going back in the closet. You're not going to. There's a tone that's a little bit different this year, even than just last year, which he was already president last year. But you can feel. I mean, it's. Whatever's changed in the country or whatever people are experiencing, there's a little bit of a different tone. But it's yeah.
But surely, the more celebratory the atmosphere,
Yes.
and the more positive and party-like,
Yes.
the more the right is going to be so upset by it. In other words,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
they're more offended and upset
Yes.
by happy gay people, right?
Oh yeah. No. No, in my own comment section, I was at like a side stage, and it was someone in the comments is, again, because they're so obsessed with crowd size, look at how few people there are, and I said, oh, this is only the side stage, and I kind of panned over, and you could see the miles and miles of crowds going in the other direction, and the thing that they like the least is us having a good time. And so I do think people out in the in the community having that good time, I am here for it.
That's a protest.
That is a protest, yes. So you have your procedure this week.
Wednesday, yes. So
Wednesday.
I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't be
Sure.
walking and talking by Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there are things physically I'll be restricted, but
Yes.
unless I'm on some medication. But
Right. Yeah.
I go.
Of course. No. Yeah.
I spend the night in the hospital, then I'm
Okay.
uh,
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. No.
You know.
I will. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I love you. Thank you. All right. Have a great week.